Mummy franchise is very overrated. I didn't think this before hearing about Frankenstein, hearing about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the whole advances in science thing. I was exposed to the Universal monsters from my time in Orlando, Florida. There was quite a legacy. I consider a lot of them were considered critical successes. And then when Money Me 2017 came out, I decided to actually watch a film, a Mummy film, and I decided to start with the Karloff film, and I was really underwhelmed. Sure, it's cool that it has magic and mystical magic and ancient magic opposed to the horrors of science. But there's not much of a lesson. It's romanticized. And I didn't think that was that good of a script. It was mainly the effects. They seem very cheap and outdated today, like 60s Batman-ish. Although it was good to have that kind of imagination back then. And I think some of them probably all have that problem. Well, they were considered innovative at their time. One big problem I had with the 1932 Karloff film is that Karloff plays a person who's in like Egypt or something, and no one just walks around and talks, and no one is suspicious of this guy who looks like Frankenstein walking around the Middle East in Egypt. That's very odd to me. It doesn't make any sense. That seems very nonsensical to me. Uh, a lot of them have this tale of the mummy and his lost wife and stuff, which is interesting. But a lot of the main characters, other than the mummy, are very boring, and they never make the mummy the main character. Although I suppose that is sort of the point and trope at this point of the franchise. 80 years later, 85 years later, or whatever it is. The Hammer film's a bit better. The special effects for that one are excellent. Christopher Lee plays the mummy very well. Cushing is good, but like he has nothing to work with. His character has a very generic name. The mummy just sort of attacks people, and sort of reminds me of. I like the mummy in that the gunshot moves are pretty cool, and it sort of reminds me of like Goosebumps and like WCW Yeti mummy, like the invincible mummy trope, which were pretty cool. Other than that, there's not much to it. I like the swamp effect that was obviously done on the sound stage. They got that. I'm assuming I don't know if they had multiple dresses or they just had to do that scene in one take, but that was pretty well done. And that takes a long time to do also. I should have started with the 1999 Mummy because that's my main exposure to it. The Mummy ride is excellent. It'll hurt your neck like crazy, but like the scene where the mummy goes, the Arnold Vosloo mummy goes, "Your soul is mine," is such exhilarating thrill ride moment for me in Orlando, Florida. I don't know how many more times I can take that ride, but it was very enjoyable, very memorable. You're on like this 90-degree coaster, and everything falls in your pockets, and it's crazy. I enjoy it like crazy. Back to the film. So my exposure to the Mummy was mainly for this film, and it's the effects I consider really well done. I get to the Mummy Returns effects, which were really bad in comparison later, but according to Good Bad Flicks, which really influenced me recently about my decision on how good the Mummy was, like the effects took like a couple of years to make, or even longer possibly, to really get it well done. And he sort of like CGI'd it like with CGI in real life to make it look very realistic, much like the Lord of the Rings double taking of effects, or like Power Rangers effects where one you teleport and then you're there, you're not there, you morph and then you're there, and then the picture of the person in the suit's there, which is pretty good. I'm trying to remember what else he said. Brendan Fraser's well cast. He's probably the most memorable minor protagonist ever. Rachel Weisz is a love interest. She does the Pharaoh love interest very well as well. Benny was really memorable. He's actually in There Will Be Blood, which is pretty epic. It's pretty hilarious. I don't know. One of the things I didn't like after being a teen and then in college, so it was like sort of an emo thing, was that it was too humorous compared to The Mummy, but I don't know, it's good humor, like you can't go wrong with that. It's a good action comedy. A lot of good stunts. It's very different. And overall, the production value is very good. Um, they did say in Good Bad Flicks that they wanted Benny and Brendan Fraser to be in the same film together, and I forgot who the director was, but anyway, he said that Brendan Fraser and Benny had to act like 12-year-olds yelling at each other, which are pretty cool. Those are pretty memorable. You definitely get a lot out of the characters that way. A lot of the serious stuff in that I didn't consider that good, but it was definitely way better than the 1932 Mummy, in my opinion. I consider it a sleeper hit, but it was pretty good. Arnold Vosloo does excellent performance with the CGI, and no one knew if his takes were going to be good enough for the CGI people, but he did. The special effects crew did an excellent job with him eating the roach pretty well. Ardith Bay was well cast. Everyone was well cast. They all looked the part and played the part pretty well. I had problems with the script, but overall, it's so overall better script than whatever. It's not a script you can take too seriously. They're all popcorn films, like I already said on my Facebook group. But very interesting. The Mummy Returns sucks. Scorpion King looks like a piece of crap. The whole plot revolves around their son, which is a child actor, and he like can't even shake his hand that well when he's pretending like he's getting attacked by the mummy, which is terrible. And I really did enjoy watching that at the same time. The Dragon Emperor was very enjoyable. Very good special effects. Like it was basically the mummy. Made sure you cast as the Dragon Emperor or something. It was like ancient magic with Chinese characters. That's pretty much all it was. It's probably very polarizing. Also, the film happened like 7 years after The Mummy Returns, which probably was too much of a gap for people to remember, much like Independence Day and other film franchises. Scorpion King I found very interesting. However, the problem with that film is that he's a good guy in that film, and he's the bad guy in Mummy 2. Mummy Returns. That makes total sense. So yeah, that's overall my thoughts on the Mummy films that I watched recently. Hopefully I watched the Mummy's Hand and other films as well. Very overrated franchise. Not a lot of character depth like with the Horrors of Science or the Horrors of Magic. Like in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Frankenstein. Or at least I'm hoping so when I rewatch those films. Not a lot of lore either, like with Aaron Eckhart, Frankenstein or whatever film he made recently. That was pretty interesting, I thought. And this franchise, I didn't find that interesting. Those are my thoughts. Comment below.